The 28th of July 2025 here in the Haggard on the farm, and it's a beautiful evening. And I'm just reminiscing, and I think I'll call this video the radio television Erden set on geopolitics and the truth of what has happened. The Soviet Union wasn't well liked, and there was a lot of hardship involved in that experiment, which was really an experiment in communism which failed, and they're still trying to push it over on us here in Europe, and they tried it in America until Donald Trump came along. The globalists are a species of communism. When they get their way, you'll see what they'll think of the migrants. They'll treat them with the same abuse they do the natives. But we had the collapse of the Soviet Union, and in 1991, Bill Clinton and the Americans guaranteed Mr. Gorbachev, who was a decent man, that they wouldn't expand NATO over against Russia, that they'd try and cultivate good relations with Russia. But they didn't do it. They surrounded Russia, and they were in the process of surrounding it with the very last country, the Ukraine, whichever you like to call it. Russia complained because Putin was on the way up. At that stage, there was a bit of stability coming into the Russian government. And they met and they made two agreements known as the Minsk agreements, which Chancellor Angela Merkel reported that she never intended keeping. They were just to delay and allow Ukraine to arm. They pushed and pushed, and the motive was to take over Ukraine and steal everything in it. The Ukrainians didn't want the Russians because of the past history, but the Ukrainians wouldn't concede a little bit of decency to the Russian people who were there. They decided that they had to give up their language, their tradition, and give up everything. And they killed them, and killed up to 2,000 or 3,000 Russians in the Ukraine. And they did it for fun. And Ukraine contains a lot of Nazis, and Zelensky's the breeder one, even though he's said to be Jewish. Nobody knows what he actually is. Putin moved in. Slowly but surely he did what he did. He has a good deal of the eastern part of Ukraine taken over. He bombarded Odessa, one of the key gems, a city that was established by Catherine the Great, the Russian Tsar. And that was let go by Russia. And it could have been left with Ukraine. But they wanted BlackRock developments and Vanguard investments, and they wanted to take it all. And they weren't content with that. They broke every agreement they made to Gorbachev, and they weren't content. They wanted to take over Russia, and they decided that they'd overthrow Vladimir Putin and install a Russian government, a puppet government in Russia. Well, you know the situation now. The situation now is that Europe has almost completely divorced Russia. It is setting itself against, and Ursula von der Leyen has said, we're not dealing with Russia anymore. They're doing this completely unelected. Nobody in the European Union has made a decision to jettison Russia. Had things been done right, we could have a situation where Russia and Europe would be trading partners, where we'd be getting on the best, where there'd be the interchange of students and science, where we'd use Russian fuels. But then the EU thought they could do without fuel. They thought they didn't want fossil fuel, even from the Russians. They thought wrong. And now we have the situation where Europe is separating from Russia without any vote from we the people. None of the European commissioners are elected. No vote at all. We have no say. We're going to just dump off a huge country, the biggest country in the world, on our eastern flank, without any say by us. The benefits of good relations with Russia were manifold. Allowed us to be independent, allowed us to trade, allowed us to be decent, allowed us to have good standards of living. control migration, have a sound, sensible energy policy based on the sharing of nuclear and fossil fuel electricity forevermore. But they messed it up. And yesterday in Aberdeen in Scotland, the EU Commission capitulated entirely to Donald Trump. I'm a great supporter of Trump, but that doesn't mean that America and Trump should get everything. It doesn't mean they should get everything. The idiots around me tell me, oh Val, you're wrong, he's a bully. Oh, he's a bully, I wouldn't have him at all, he'll start a war. Well, your commission is after giving him everything he asked for. 600 billion to save America and bail America out when no one else wants to lend to them. Why are we committed to that? Paying €250 per €80 for fuel. For every 250 we now spend, we were getting it from Russia for 80. And Ursula von der Leyen has the lying cheek to say that Russian energy is not as good a quality as America. And they had it on their doorstep coming in through a pipe. America blew up the pipe. There was no investigation into that. And this gas has to come from America, 3,000 miles away. And they have to build terminals when there's a ready supply of fuel over there. Not only that, there's a ready supply of steel, of metals, of manufacturing, of sharing, of machine tools, all of which Russia was interested in selling us, and we were interested in buying from them. The whole machine tool industry in Europe is gone. All of the lathes and milling machines that I see, new ones, are all made in Taiwan and China, where not one left. So Russia can't buy them. This is wider than we think. This means that we are now an industrial wasteland, with no one to one side of us, and America, who will always rip us off, is a hugely extreme capitalist society, not a bad society once you keep your eye on them. When you do a deal with the Americans, you give them only what you have to. They had to throw away the tariffs, which was unfair. But they didn't have to give the whole lot. They didn't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They could have said, we'll even up our trade, no more unfair trading, guaranteed. You can bring your cars in here the same as everyone else. But they're giving them 600 billion in cash that we'll never get back of our money. And we're giving them 750 billion to buy his fuel when we had a ready supply at what's 83, three and a quarter times less expensive beside us. And we have no say in that. All to protect the green T-shirt, Zelensky, a Nazi sympathizer, and to keep the Nazis in power in Ukraine. All of it. And to protect Germany's car exports, we have to pay this. Think of what Ireland would do with 600 billion. There'll be a hair-shirt budget coming. And the people of Ireland deserve what they're getting. They'll be eaten out of dustbins, and only that will stop them voting for these creeps in Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Only that. In actual fact, Fine Gael is agreeable to reduce the VAT on restaurants and eating establishments, or to keep it at the 9%, I think that's what it is. But Fianna Fáil wants it jacked up to the 13% again. Niamh Smith down in Tunnyduff, they voted for her. She wants the restaurant relief taken away and the full whack applied. Only 2 places serving food in Ballybor. Would the crowd in Tunnyduff know what a restaurant is? Would just know what it is? Did you ever go in and get a meal? But you'll vote for her. My golly, you'll vote for her, and you'll do it again. You deserve to be hungry. And they'll take the farm grants, they'll leave you with very little. You'll get a little bit of a grant. All to go to pay for arms, to buy American guns and bombs, to bomb Russia. that never did anything wrong to anybody and has no intention of keeping us as prisoners or taking away our freedom. They gave 20 million people in the Second World War to beat Hitler. They got rid of Stalin. They abolished the Soviet Union. They set up a new country, and they were going all right. And instead of treating them as a partner and treating them with a wee bit of caution, just like you treat the Americans, they'll all do a bit of messing, no doubt about that. But instead of trying to live and let live, we turn it that we can never sell them, not even a nail, not even a pound of sugar, can we ever trade between us and Russia. Our children are sentenced to the next centuries with nothing, with a complete barrier between iron curtain between Europe and Russia. Do we want that? Can we get rid of these creeps in the EU and the EU Commission? Well, I don't know. Hunger and starvation. I wonder, will we get bottled gas? Where will the fuel come from? 3.5 times the price for the gas. What about diesel? What is going to happen? We're going to have to turn back to keep warm, because your heat pumps won't keep you warm. Anyway, folks, comment underneath. They have really taken the European Union idea and the Irish hopes and freedom that we hope for, and they've really taken it and they've smashed it against the wall with Ursula von der Leyen. And when it was put up to her, she didn't even know how to negotiate. She couldn't. It was handed to her on a piece of paper. She couldn't say, hold on, we'll read this now and see what it is. She couldn't get on to Trump a week ago and ask him, what are your conditions? No, we'll not accept that, we'll not accept that. We're going to have fair trade, and that's that. She couldn't do it. Why? Because she's completely unsuitable for the job, completely unfit for the job. I say again, the French Prime Minister has condemned this deal. Marine Le Pen has condemned this deal. And as time goes on, you're going to see, as people realise what it is, more and more condemnation of what they have done and what they have done to the European dream, the Irish dream, and indeed the dream of many people. In the long term, it won't even suit the Americans. Hopefully, when the Americans get through a while, they'll dump the Europeans again and cast them ashore, because they're no partners for anybody, no fit partners for anybody. We'll see you back soon. Comment underneath. Bye bye.